Welcome to you all. This is grade 11 Information and Communication Technology. Once again we meet, remember this is the third class. We have already completed 2 classes. In those 2 classes, we instructed the computer to display some text messages on the screen. So to display some text messages on the screen, we use 2 commands, write and write-ln. So hope you remember the differences between write and write-ln. And also we have used some other commands for the convenience of the user who handles the computer directly. So they are important because even though they are not asked in examination, even though they are not complex, as an introduction they are important because without those fundamentals idea, it may be difficult for writing some complex or lengthy programs. So today also we will continue from that point, but hereafter things seem to be different because from today we will take some inputs from the users. Users have to give some inputs for us. So after taking some inputs from users, we will do some process. We will perform some process inside of the computer. As a result of the computer, we will show some outputs back to the users. So I know these are not new for you because these were already discussed in flowcharts and pseudocodes. So we will take them from today and instruct the computer to do some processes and producing the output. So let's take the first program. Right, so with the knowledge that we gained in the previous program, we will move to another program. This may be one of the most important programs because hereafter programs may be similar. Most of the programs may have similarities. So try to understand this program. If you have a doubt, ask me in the next class. This is going to be addition of any 2 numbers. We are going to add any 2 numbers. Hope you all remember this program because we already solved that in flowcharts as well as pseudocode. So let me recall those steps which we used earlier. This is about adding any 2 numbers. It may be small number, big number, minus, plus number, any numbers. So first of all, you have to take 2 numbers. Am I correct? We want 2 numbers. Then only we can add, right? So we have to take 2 numbers one by one. That may be the first step, taking 2 numbers. Remember, we call these as inputs in flowcharts and pseudocodes. So we have to input 2 numbers. That is the first step. What is next? Soon after we got 2 numbers, we have to do a process. That is adding 2 numbers, adding those 2 numbers together. That is the second step. Right? Once the numbers are added, the answer is found, you have to show the answer as output. You cannot keep the answer with you because this is a problem. You got the answer, so you have to tell that number to me or someone else. So that is the output. So you got 3 steps to solve this problem. So what are the 3 steps? We have to take the 2 numbers first. We have to add the 2 numbers next. Finally, the result of this addition must be shown as output. This is the one which we tried in flowcharts and pseudocodes. But this time we are going to do the same thing but in computer. We have to give the instruction to computer to add the 2 numbers. I'm not going to do this as practical at this moment because I want you to understand everything clearly. So I try to manage with the whiteboard first. After completing my program here on whiteboard, then I will switch to computer and show how the program works and what are the errors that we get and everything, right? So listen to me. we will start writing the program. So first of all, it's begin. First of all, I want the first number. In order to get the first number, first of all, I must show a message saying that please enter your first number, because to get a number from a user, we must show something as a text message. Then only the user responds, right? So even when you go to the ATM, that machine or that screen shows something like please enter your card. Then only you realize that it is the time to enter your card. Then it immediately asks, please enter your PIN. So assume if those things are not shown on the screen, how can you do your action? So how can you guess the actions to be done? So it is always important to show some text messages to pass some information to users. So here I want a number from a user. So first of all, I must show something on the screen saying that enter first number. So we already studied in PASCAL, to show a message on the screen, we have to use the command write. So I'm writing here, write within single quote, give you a message to be displayed. So in my case, it's going to be enter first number. So I write here, enter first number. Right. So now on the screen we have a message in the form of enter first number. As a user, when you see such messages on the screen, definitely you have to enter a number, because look at the message, it tells us to enter a message. So if I am the user who sees that message, definitely I will enter a number. So now I'm going to tell my computer to store that particular number to be entered by a user in a place, or I can call that in a box. So wait until I finish. So I'm going to tell my computer to store that particular number in a place or in a box called N1. So here I write read N1. So here read N1 means store in N1. So what is N1? So we don't exactly know that word now, but assume N1 is a box. This is N1. Right? So in N1, we have to store a particular number which the user entered. So suppose if the user entered 100, now read N1, which means store in N1. So that 100 must be stored in N1. Right? So your first number which you entered is in N1 now. Assume N1 is a box, but later I will modify, or I will change the meaning and explain something. But for the moment, assume it's N1, because N1 is a box because it's a storage, so I used to call them as a box. So we got the first number. We were able to show a message and took the first number. Read means store in N1. N1 is a box. Similarly, I have to take the second number. So to take the second number, again, a message should be shown on the screen. To show a message on the screen, it is write. Even you may use write ln, no issue at all. I'm using write. Now give you a message to be displayed on the screen. So let me type enter second number. Now user gets another message, enter second number. Again, that user will respond with a number. So now I must tell my computer to store that number in another box, because In one box we cannot store many numbers, so I have to tell my computer to store that particular number in another box. As if I am going to tell my computer to store in N2. So N2 is another box. This is N2. There we will store another number. So this must be read N2. Read N2. So in N2, that particular number is saved, is stored. So earlier we used read N1 because there the number was saved in N1. So now this number has to be saved in N2. So read N2. Right? So now we got two numbers and both of them are saved in N1 and N2. If I enter 50 for second number, that 50 is in N2. Right? So now we have to add the numbers together, right? Because we got both numbers. If you think about your flowcharts and pseudocode, you can get that idea. Since both numbers are taken, it's the time to add both of them. So I have to add two numbers together. So where is my first number? It's in N1, right? So N1. For adding two numbers, we must use the plus symbol. Plus. Where is my second number? In N2, right? So N2. So N1 plus N2, both of them are added and the result must be saved in another box. I'm going to tell my computer to save this result in another place, in another box. Assume it is, let me take a meaningful name, TOT. I'm telling my computer to store in TOT. So this is TOT, but remember here we are adding the numbers and save in TOT. So here we have to use assignment operator for saving. Saving means assigning. So in flowcharts and pseudocodes we used equal symbol as assignment. There also it's assignment, but equal symbol was used. But here in Pascal, this is the symbol for assignment, a colon and equal. Until it is called assignment operator. So again see N1, N2, both of them are added and the result is saved in TOT. Since it's a statement, it must be closed with a semicolon. Always to the right side of this assignment, your calculation must be shown. Because here you are trying to add the two numbers and save here. So always your number to be saved or your calculation to be saved should be on the right side of the assignment symbol. The location where you save should be in the left side of the assignment. So where do you save that particular value? In TOT, right? So TOT must be to the left of assignment symbol. You cannot write TOT here and N1 plus N2 here. That is wrong, right? So keep that in your mind. I already told this in flowcharts and pseudocodes too. But if you forget, try to remember here. To the right side of assignment, your calculation or your value must be written. To the left side of the assignment, your storage space must be written, right? So now in TOT, the total number is saved. Finally, okay, now you have your answer. You found your answer, but the problem is your answer is in TOT, is in one location. Now you have to show that as output on the screen. So to show anything on the screen, again you have to use write or write ln. Any command is okay. Write or write ln. Write what? TOT. Because you have to show the number, total number, which is saved in TOT. So write TOT. Note I don't put the single quote here because I don't want to show TOT on the screen. I wanted to show the number which is saved in the TOT. So that's why I write the name of the storage, not single code TOT, because single code, whatever within the single code must be shown on the screen. So suppose if I put single code like this, the word TOT will be on the screen. That is not the one which I expected. I expected to have the number on the screen. So where is the number? It is in the TOT, right? So it is TOT, right TOT. Finally, you have to read element and then end. Alright, so we have finished writing the program, but not this program has been written with some mistakes, with some errors. I could have written this program without any errors, but I want you to understand the errors, because those are the most commonly made errors. So I wanted to highlight them. That's the reason why this has been written without correcting them. So let's see how this program works. This is important because even though we have written some instructions, some lines, we are not the one who execute the program or who run the program. Computer is the one which runs the program. So we should know how computer treats this, so how computer understands this. So let's see one by one. Look at the first one. We all know the first line, there is no issue at all. Enter first number. Now that particular phrase will be on the screen, enter first number. As a user, when I see such message on the screen, definitely I will enter a number. Even if you run this program, you will get such message, enter first number. As soon as you see the message, definitely you enter a number. So let's see, when you enter a number, for example, assume you entered 100. So when you enter 100, look at my second line, because every line is an instruction to computer. Every line tells the computer to do something. So first line tells the computer to display that particular message, enter first number. The second line tells the computer to store this number which the user entered in N1. Read N1 means store in N1. So, but here there is an issue because you are instructing the computer to save your number in N1. But the problem is computer doesn't know which is N1 or which location is this or which storage place is this, because this is the very first time you are trying to introduce that N1 to computer. Look at them. Before that we don't have anything in the name of N1. So this may be the first time you use N1. Maybe in the next lines there may be N1, but without any introduction, straight away you ask the computer to store in N1. The problem is computer doesn't know where the N1 is. So now, since computer is unable to understand this line, computer shows an error message to you, which means your program doesn't run hereafter. So we have to correct this problem because this may be the line computer doesn't know this N1. So before I use this N1, I must tell my computer, maybe before begin, I must tell my computer that N1 is a kind of storage and we are going to save something in N1. So such introduction must be given before begin. So when computer sees that introduction, computer knows N1, computer knows what kind of data will be saved in N1. Thereafter, no issues at all. So here we have to introduce this N1 in a format which computer understands, because all these lines are understood by computer. We wrote all these lines for computer. So we have to write in a format which computer understands. So look here, before I write that particular line, I must explain some other things. Look here, N1. Up to now, I used to call this as a box. because we are storing something in N1. So in the beginning, I pointed this as a box. Even here, look at that, enter second number. So you are trying to save your second number in N2. So I used to call that as a box. Here also same. Yes, I use the word box because it's a storage place. So I should introduce that as a storage to you. That's why I used to call that as a box. But look here, I have to correct that. I have to use the correct word now. Actually, this N1 is called a variable because the number which can be saved in these places can change from time to time. That may be the reason why we used to call them as variable. N1 is a variable, N2 is a variable, even TOT is another variable. So the name variable gets its name because the value which is saved inside can be changed from time to time. But we should understand the term variable first. Look here, enter first number, then in the next line you are trying to tell the computer to store in N1. So N1 actually is nothing. N1 is a specific place, or is a place allocated in your main memory. I repeat that, this N1 or this variable is a allocated place, location in your main memory, which means random access memory. So if I take a random access memory, so assume this is random access memory. There may be so many places or locations to store the data. So N1 is one of the places. So before start writing your program, you have to introduce this location first. So let's see how can we write or how can we introduce that particular variable to the computer. So first of all, that variable declaration must start with the word var. Variable, first three letters are var. So var. Then we have to use the variable name. This is the variable name. In my case, it's N1, right? So it's N1. var N1 space N1. Then put a colon symbol. Right? Colon. Then we must write one more thing, because I just mentioned that variable is for storing the data. So now I must tell my computer that this variable, which means N1, is used in my program, or going to be used in my program to store whole numbers. Assume this program has been written to add whole numbers, not fractional numbers, whole numbers, 100, 20, 50, like that. So since this program has been written for adding the whole numbers, I have to write integer. Integer means whole number. Hope you have heard this word in grade 10 spreadsheet 2, right? So integer means here whole number. So what I wrote is, I introduce my variable N1 to my computer, and also I'm trying to tell that N1, I'm trying to tell my computer that N1 will store integer type of data. So this is a kind of introduction. So now computer knows that there will be a place in the main memory in the name of N1. So there may be a location allocated here. It's N1 in the main memory. And inside of that particular location, it will store only what type of data? Only the whole number. It doesn't allow real numbers. It doesn't allow letters or characters. It only allows whole numbers, that is integer. So now this N1 has been introduced to computer. So hereafter, after writing this line, hereafter if you use N1, definitely computer knows, computer can identify. But without this line, computer cannot identify. In some programming languages, this kind of an introduction is not necessary. You can straight away use your variables. But in Pascal programming, you have to introduce your variables at the top. Even though I used to call that as variable introduction or something, but it has a specific name. This is known as variable declaration, declaring variable, which means variable declaration. So variable declaration is nothing, it is mentioning the variable name along with the type of data which the variable stores. So in my example, I have a variable in the name of n1. That n1 can store only integer type of data, which means whole numbers. So now I have introduced n1. So now look at this line again. Enter first number, okay. Assume that you entered 100. Now in the next line, read n1. Now computer knows n1 because lines are executed one after the other. So at the beginning, this has been read and understood. So now computer knows. See, there is a location is already created. So now computer goes to n1 and stores your 100. There is no issue. Now computer goes to the third line. Enter second number. Yes, computer can understand that line, and now it is on the screen. Enter second number. So as a user, you will enter a number. Assume that you enter 50. So now computer goes to the fourth line and reads that. Read n2, which means store in n2. What about this line? Or does computer understand this line? No, right? So here also there is an issue because computer doesn't know that particular variable n2. It doesn't know where it is or which type of variable is this. So now again you will get error message. So if you use n2 here, definitely at the top it must be introduced, it must be declared. So let me introduce that variable 2. So you don't need to write the var again, that single var is enough. So now the variable name, you may write in the next line, variable name, so it is n2. Again a colon symbol. So I already told you that this program is for adding whole numbers. So the type of data is integer, semicolon, right? So if you understood the first line, understanding the second line is also very simple. So in the second line, we declared or we introduced n2 as a variable name. This is the variable name, and that variable will allow only whole numbers, integer type of data, right? So now come back to this line. In the second number, yes, you entered 50. In the next line, you have an instruction to computer, which is read n2. Now computer knows n2 because when computer reads this line, it creates another space. It allocates another space, and that is named as n2. This is n2. So there is a space waiting. So now when computer reads this line, read n2, computer knows that particular location and it goes to the location and straight away put that 50 in n2. Have you understood? So 100 is in n1, now 50 is in n2. Both inputs are kept inside of two variables. I again tell you, variables are nothing, they are memory locations. Right? Memory locations allocated in random access memory. They are variables, often asked in exams, right? Try to understand or try to remember this definition for variable. Variables are memory locations, or variables are locations allocated in random access memory. So this is a variable, this is a variable. But the term variable is given to that variable because the value which is kept inside of it can change from time to time. That may be the reason why it gets the name. But when you are asked to write the definition for variable, you must write that variables are memory locations, right? Sometimes there may be another questions asked about variables. They may ask the reason for using variables in the program. Write down the reason or reasons for using the variables in program. Look here, we use these variables. Why? To keep the data, to store the data. So variables are used in programs for storing the data. Look here, this N1 is used for storing the data. In my example, 100 is saved in N1. Look here, why did I use N2? In my example, in 50 is saved in N2. So 150, what are they? They are data. So these are the three things to be remembered, particularly about variables. There may be some other things, but these are the most important things. Variables are memory locations. That is the first one. It is actually a definition. Second one, the reason for using variables in the program, it is for storing the data. The third one, the reason for giving that name variable. They are called as variable because the data which are saved in variables can change from time to time. These are three important things to be remembered about variables, but there may be some other things too. I will explain after explaining the whole program, right? Okay. So now this is also okay. Let's go to the next slide. Look here what happened. I already told you that it is assignment. This is assignment, which means it is a kind of symbol for storage. So what happened here? We add these two numbers together, two variables together. Look here in my example, N1 has a value, right? 100. Plus, plus is for adding the numbers together, plus N2. N2 has another number, that is 50. So, it seems to be 100 plus 50. So, now it becomes 150. So, that 150, that particular data must be kept, must be saved in TOT. So, TOT is what? It is another variable. It's another location. So, now, yes, computer can add all these two numbers. Both of them can be added. There is no issue. Computer understands. But computer doesn't know how to store them or how to store that particular 150 in TOT, because look here, in no line we have a TOT. We didn't introduce the TOT to computer. So since the TOT is a new thing, new word for computer, again your program fails. You will get an error message because of this TOT. So now, hope you understands the problem now. Even you can correct that problem because you got some idea now. So now, this is another variable. This must be introduced at the beginning. So after N2, I must write the variable name. Here it is TOT, variable name, colon symbol. Since your two numbers are decimal numbers, your two numbers are whole numbers, definitely your answer will be whole number. So TOT colon integer, semicolon. So now that has been introduced, right? So now come to the point, n1 has to be added with n2. Yes, in my example it's 100, it's 50, so 100 plus 50, 150. That 150 will be kept in TOT. What is TOT? That is another location. This is TOT. So when computer reads these three lines, it allocates the relevant spaces in the name of N1, N2, TOT. After that, it comes to begin and other lines. So now N1 plus N2, 150, that 150 will be saved in TOT. Now your 150 is kept in TOT. There is no issue, computer understands now. Right? So now you got the answer. You got the answer, or you got what you expected. But the only issue is your answer is found, but your answer is in random access memory. Your answer is in TOT. Where is TOT? That is in main memory, random access memory. Finally, you have to bring your answer from main memory to monitor. Then only as a user we can see that. So what is the line? It is write TOT. Right? Write TOT means TOT is a location in main memory. It has a value. In my case, it's 150. That 150 will be shown on the screen. That's why I have used, right? Finally, your program will be terminated. This is how it works. Right? So here we have so many new things introduced. So particularly you have to understand these three lines. Definitely I will explain this particular area later, because we have to spend some time in variables and variable declaration. But without introducing the variables and variable declaration, even look at them, I used N1, N2, TOT. What are they? They are variable names. Yes, they are variables, but better to call them as variable names. When you name a variable, you have to follow some rules. I know the rules. I keep them in my mind. After by keeping them in the mind, I name them. But definitely there are rules. But I didn't explain the rules earlier because I thought that without introducing the rules, we understood one program, or we can understand a program. Once we understood the program, it may be the time to introduce the variables and variables rules. That's the reason why I didn't, or without giving the rules for naming a variable, I have named it. But after running this program in the computer, maybe in the next lesson, I will explain the rules to be followed when we name a variable, right? So N1 is a variable name, N2 is a variable name, TOT is another variable name. What are they? They are the type of data which a variable stores. So in this example, N1 stores only whole numbers. N2 stores only whole numbers. Even TOT can store only whole numbers. But if you want to store a decimal number, there is another word. I will explain later, I will introduce later. Even if you want to store a particular name, like your name, definitely the type of data will be different. Right? So these are data types or types of data. In between your variable name and type of data, there should be colon symbol. Since these are statements, every statement is completed or is closed with semicolon. Right? So hope you understood this small program. If you understand such program or this particular program, definitely the upcoming programs can easily be understood, because most of the programs may need a variable from users and produce the output to the users. So without this introduction or without this idea, it may be extremely difficult to apply in the next program. So if you understood this one clearly, we can move and take whatever we want as programs. Up to now, we spent some time in writing the program on the board. Of course, we understood each and every line. We know the reason for adding all these lines, but it would be better if we try this same program in computer, because in computer you are able to see the outputs, you are able to see the error messages, and also sometimes the reasons for having the error messages, the particular place where the error message found. All these things are clearly shown on the computer. So it would be better to try the same program in computer. Then only we can have a clear picture or clear idea. So let's go to the computer and try this as a practical. Right, so this is the program which we wrote on the board. So here we have a program name. We discussed this in the last class. And I have used a CRT. I'm using CRT library here because there is a word clear screen. So that clear screen cannot be used without this one. That's why we are using that one. These are not new. We already wrote on the board. We have three variables, N1, N2, TOT. This is how they are declared: VAR, variable name, data type, and other variables. And we have the first message, so write, enter first number. When a user enters a number, that must be saved in N1, so read N1. Immediately the next message should be on the screen, so enter second number. Now again a user will enter another number, so that has to be read in N2, so read N2. After that, both numbers in both variables must be added, and the result must be saved in TOT. Finally, the TOT must be displayed. Finally, here I used read key. Earlier I used read ln. Both may be okay. Even if you use read key, you will directly go to the output screen. At the other end, from output screen to code window, you can come automatically. So it looks like read ln, but remember one thing: read key also in CRT library. So without user CRT, you cannot use read key. Both clear screen and read key are found in CRT library. So if you want to use clear screen and read key, you must use user CRT. So let's compile the program first. Look here, the compile successful. So I press any key and then I have to run my program. So directly I go to the output screen, and also you can see that previous outputs are clear because I use clear screen. That's why previous outputs are clear. Now enter first number 90. So what happens if I press enter key? This 90 will be saved in N1. Hope you remember my second line, read N1. So when I hit the enter key, this number 90 will be saved in N1. At the same time, the next message on the screen. What is the next message written? Right, enter second number, right? So that will be on the screen. So now I am pressing the enter key. Look here, the 90 has been saved in N1. At the same time, the next line is running. The next line is executed, that is enter second number. So let's type 100. Again, if I press the enter key, this 100 will be saved in N2 because you can remember your next line, read N2. So when I press the enter key, this 100 will be saved in N2. So after that, the next line, what is the next line? N1 plus N2, that must be assigned in TOT. So N1 has 90, N2 has 100, both are added, and the result is kept in a variable called TOT. So now when I hit the enter key, that is also happened. After that, the last line, what's the last line? Write TOT. So what is inside of TOT? 190, right? So that will be on the screen. Look here. Now only I press the enter key. See, all happened. So now we got the answer. When you press the enter key again, you will be back to your code window. Right? So without declaring these variables, you cannot use them directly. Suppose if I raise here, look here, I raised them. Let's compile it. Now look at them, compile failed. This program doesn't compile to binary because this is the issue. Even you can see the issue. See, not found N1, not found N2, not found TOT. Because computer doesn't know this N1, computer doesn't know N2, computer doesn't know TOT. Because you didn't introduce them at the top. So now definitely you have to introduce them. When you introduce in main memory, they are allocated. There is a space allocated in the name of N1, N2, TOT. So after that, you can use it. Now compile, it works, right? So run the program again. It asks enter first number. I type 50. So when I press the enter key, until I press the enter key, nothing happens. When I press the enter key, this 50 will be saved in N1 because the next line, hope you remember your program, the next line will be read N1. So now N1 has 50. Immediately the next lines appeared, that is second number. So suppose if I press 100, type 100, nothing happens. Until I press the enter key nothing happens. So when I press the enter key, this 100 will be saved in N2. At the same time, next line executed. What is the next line? N1 plus N2, that must be assigned in TOT, right? So what is N1 50? What is N2 100? Both are added and the result is saved in TOT, which means TOT has 150. Immediately the next line executed, next line runs. What is the next line? Write TOT. What is inside of TOT? 150. So when I press the enter key, it happens 150, right? So this is the program. So hope you understood this program. These are not hard because I have taken enough time on the board as well as in the computer. So try, practice again. Those who have computer, you may practice at the computer. But to understand this program better, understand each and every line without any doubt. You must understand the reason for having each and every line. If you have any doubt, you can ask in the next class because these are very important, right? So with this, we conclude today's lesson. We will meet in another time. Thank you for watching.